Alright, this is Boxing with the Truth, and I am the Truth. We're here today on February 24th, 2015, and we're here with heavyweight Steve USS Cunningham. How you doing, Steve?
I'm doing great.
Well, I'm glad to have you. I can't wait to get into your life a little bit and see what you're up to. You've had quite the career. A lot of people, just to clarify, you were a very good cruiserweight, and you just recently, in the last 2 years, I believe, moved up to heavyweight, right?
Yeah, 3 years. Yep.
Okay, 3 years. So just in case people don't recognize his name at heavyweight, he's been around for a while, but he's been fighting overseas an awful lot as a cruiserweight, and he did very well over there. He actually had the IBF twice. You were the IBF Cruiserweight Champion, correct?
Yes.
Okay, and you are 38 now, but your pro record is actually 28 wins, 13 knockouts, and 6 losses, right?
Yep, it is.
And are you still located in Philadelphia?
Yeah, this is, we just recently moved to Pittsburgh, but, yeah, I'm still up here 100%.
Okay, and you turned pro in 2000, right?
Yep.
And you actually, you didn't really have an amateur background like a lot of fighters do. And I'm gonna get to that in a minute. In your teenage years, you actually, you were kind of getting in a little bit of trouble. You were actually dealing drugs as a teenager, correct?
Yeah, about 13 to 14. 13, 14, 15, I was, hustling crack. Actually 14 and 15, hustling crack out here on the streets of Philly. Just actually one thing I said there's 2 things I said I never do that I ended up doing. And one of them was selling crack, and the other was joining the military. So, I remember, in school, getting teased because of my clothes weren't current and up to par. My shoes, I was, bummy, and here it is, kids, everybody, kids are very cool. So, I got teased a lot. I got into fights a lot because of my clothing, and just, I wasn't the hip kid or cool, and, that really wore on me. By junior high school, about the time I was getting ready to get out of junior high, I kind of, to go to high school, I kind of fell into that peer pressure, and, I wanted to get the Jordans and have those $100 sneaks and have that look and, some jewelry, leather jackets. So, a friend of mine that I went to school with, he said he started doing it, hustling crack for a guy that we knew that gave out, packs. So I went with him, gave me a pack, and that's when my eyes was open to the reality of the streets.
Yep.
that winter.
But fortunately, you didn't have to wake up by going to jail or prison or, being shot or anything like that. You just eventually came to a conscious decision that you didn't want to live like that anymore, and you did go back to school, and you actually joined the Navy.
Yeah, well, the last summer of me selling crack was part of what basically made me make my decision, because this was a real hot summer for the drug selling force. I mean, I made the most money that summer that I ever seen. I was hustling for about 2 years, and this year, we were making so much money for this one guy. We were in shifts, so I had everything I had wanted. I had leather jackets, I had the sneakers, I had 2 pairs of $100 sneakers. Here it is, I'm 15 years old. I paid the rent. I dropped $300 on my mom out of nowhere, because I knew she needed it. We were about to get kicked out, and I had school money. I had money saved up for school clothes, and school started. And I started going, and I remember the one day I came back from school, and the guy I was I always knew school was important, and when he said that, I was like, wow, I can't do this. I can't be doing this anymore. So I kind of slacked off. And I wasn't in one of those situations where, God would kill you for not coming out there or anything. He wasn't a real tough guy like that. But I just really slacked off from doing it. And then we ended up literally within a few weeks having to move to a total new neighborhood. So that kind of got me out of it. From there, I was like, hey, I'm going to school. I need to, I was in 10th grade. I was like, I need to graduate. And, because, being an adult is right around the corner. So, there it is. I was an art major in art. And I just didn't do what I needed to do in order to get in art classes. My parents didn't go to college. I was living with my mom, a single parent, so she never went to college. So she couldn't tell me about filling out financial aid or, getting, sending off this to that college. And my art teacher was telling me to, write in and draw my portfolio pictures to send them out, and I just was drawing superheroes and whatever I wanted. So, next thing you know, all my friends were getting acceptance letters, and I wasn't, and the Navy recruiter came in. But by then, before the Navy recruiter came in, I was like, wow, what am I going to do? I knew if I stayed in Philly trying to go to community college or whatever, I knew working at Checkers and McDonald's wasn't for me. I just knew that wouldn't satisfy me. So I felt that I would either, if I stayed in Philly, I knew I would either go back into drug selling, which would ultimately mean me being in jail, ended up in jail, or ended up dead, and I didn't want that. So I just was like scratching my head, and the Navy recruiter that next week popped up into my class, and he said the right things: college money, see the world, job experience, and ever since then, I was gone.
Okay, now let me ask you something. You were in the Navy from '94 to '98, and you actually were on the USS America and the USS Enterprise. But that's actually where you found boxing for the most part, right? That's where you actually started your boxing career.
Yeah, growing up in Philly, Philly has this reputation of everybody. There were so many gyms in Philly at the time. Every rec center in every neighborhood had a boxing gym. So you had hundreds of kids just going in and learning a little something. So street fights were like boxing matches, at that time. So and as a teenager and a young kid, you had to fight. You had to fight sometimes in school, a lot of times, and I didn't win them all, but I didn't back down. So I had this fight in me and this curiosity in me, like, wow, I could probably be good at boxing, but really the closest rec center in my neighborhood was in the bad part of the neighborhood, where these guys, they didn't like guys from our neighborhood, so they wanted to like beat us up for some reason. So I couldn't go to that gym, and I just, I went up to the gym at 26 and Masters for about a week, and the coach just kept telling me and my friend, hit the bag. And I remember going there one day and being like, man, if this dude telling me just hit the bag today, I'm leaving. And he sure enough did, and we left. But because I wanted to learn, I wanted to learn how to fight. So a few years later, I joined the Navy, and the Navy boxing team was stationed at Little Creek Amphibious Base. I was stationed at Norfolk Naval Base. So we would drive to Little Creek to play basketball and lift weights because they had a better gym, and the boxing team was there, and I just started boxing, just by myself, going up to the gym, hitting the bag every day. It was like my workout, and that basically what got me noticed by a Marine guy named, his name at the time was Hanson, Major Hanson, and he just started training me, sparring with me, getting me ready, and he got me my first fight against the light heavyweight champion of the Navy.
Okay, well, listen, I want to jump ahead a little bit and talk about some guys that you fought so people understand some of the guys on your resume. More recent, you fought Amir Mansour, and then you got Tyson Fury. Twice you fought Thomas Adamick. You fought twice against Johan Pablo Hernandez. You fought Wayne Brethright. You fought Marco Huck. So, some people, like I said, might not have heard your name in the heavyweight division or in the cruiserweight, and that's because you chose to fight overseas, because you said that a lot of cruiserweights get more attention over in Europe, right?
Yeah, and in Europe there are a lot of cruiserweights, and the promoters over there's television for cruiserweights. If if you want to make any money as a cruiserweight, you have to go overseas, you know. And after I lost my belt to Tomas Adamek in New Jersey, that first fight, and then I broke contract with Don King after a year after that. I knew I had to go overseas. I mean, and there was another thing. I wanted to kind of go overseas because, you know, I'm real close with Chris Bird, and he told me that there's one thing he regretted not doing in his career. And he was saying he wished he would have campaigned overseas a little bit because, you know, he fought the Klitschko's and he garnered a pretty good fan base. So he said he wished he would have, you know, fought overseas just for the fan base over there. And that really struck a chord with me. And I'm like, wow, here it is. I have this opportunity. Because I beat Marco Huck. I stopped Marco Huck in the 12th round, and I beat Tristan Ladarchik, the former WBC champ for the IBF belt. And, you know, I've had a pretty good fan base in Poland, Germany, in the UK, you know, all around the world. I was getting messages from people because both of those fights were televised throughout the world. You know, UK, Australia, New Zealand, you know. So when I got the opportunity, looking for a new promoter, Solomon Events hit me up, and the Polish promoter hit me up. You know, we had a few promoters hit us up, and I chose Solomon Events, you know, because they were more profitable. They had the bigger television, you know, contract, and it just seemed. And they had Marco Huck, who had a belt. I wanted to unify. Okay,
well, I want to touch briefly. I want to make sure we talk about this. You actually have a fight coming up, March 14th. Against Glazkov. I'm only going to say his last name because there's no way I'm going to be able to pronounce this man's first name right. He's actually 19-0-1 with 12 knockouts. It's a 12-round fight. It's actually up in Quebec, Canada. What do you know about your opponent?
Same fight in Montreal. They switched it.
Okay.
I know he's a bronze medalist in the Olympics. He's an Olympian. I've commentated. I was a color commentator on, I think, 2 of his fights. I've seen him fight live 4 times. I think he's a very good fighter. I think he's motivated. I think he's dangerous. I also think he can be beat. You know, so with Brother Nazim in my corner and in training me, I believe we can go in there and beat this young man and do it in a good fashion, you know. But we have to be correct and do everything right, you know.
Okay, and I mean, like I did mention, you are 38. You've had a pretty good career so far. I know. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I know you're still fighting for basically 2 reasons: to win a world title and for a lot of medical expenses, right?
Well, not necessarily medical expenses. My daughter's medical expenses are taken care of through the state.
Okay.
It's just the other things, involved with that. You know, we had to basically pick up and move to Pittsburgh within months, you know, from Philly, because Philadelphia Children's Hospital basically turned us down.
Okay.
From giving her a heart transplant.
And let me touch briefly on that so some of the fans understand what I'm talking about when I say medical expenses. Your daughter's name is Kennedy, correct?
Yes.
Okay, and your daughter actually had to have a heart transplant, and she did get the heart transplant, right?
Yeah, she was. My daughter was born with a heart disease that required 3 corrective surgeries. At a very young age, in less than 2 years, she had 2 open heart surgeries, and they were waiting for her to get a little older and her body to develop a little more so she can have the 3rd corrective surgery. That would have been the final surgery, and then she would have been able to, live a normal life. But they looked, and there were so many different complications over the years that they decided at 9 years old that she wasn't a candidate for that 3rd surgery. So now they were looking to put her on the heart transplant list, because they were saying the heart was just too damaged. So now we were on the heart transplant list, and then about 3 months after that, they looked at her and said, well, we don't think she's a candidate for the heart transplant. And so we're like, what's the next move? And they're like, basically, take her home and make her comfortable until heart failure. So we, of course, went and got a second opinion at Pittsburgh Children's Hospital, and the doctors there said, Dr. Morrell, he's a great surgeon. He said, we believe we can do something, with your daughter. We don't see the same problems that they see. And December 5th, she received a heart transplant, and she's doing awesome.
Well, that's great to hear, man. I'm really happy to hear that, and I'm sure all the boxing fans are, and everybody that already knew about your daughter. Now, what is heartbyfaith.com? Is that something that people can go to? Is that for donations, or what is that?
Yeah, heartbyfaith.com. That's the donation site that we put up. Basically, I'll tell you the story behind that. I fought Amir Mansour in April last year, 2014, and before that, me and Mansour, we sparred with each other. He helped me get ready to win my title back, the second time as a cruiserweight. So, me and him, we had a pretty good relationship. We know each other, and there it is, we have to fight each other. So we fought each other. We had that great fight in April. He knocked me down twice, and I just continued on, and I got the victory. And after the fight, he on the interview on television, he said, because he knows about my daughter's situation, he said, everybody just, donate to Steve's daughter, they need help, because we, at that time, we had to make the move from Philly to Pittsburgh, immediately, because we were on the heart transplant list, and Pittsburgh's Children's Hospital was like, you need to get here ASAP, because we don't know when the call is going to come through, and the heart can only be out of the body for up to 6 hours or 5 to 6 hours, and it was almost a 5-hour ride from Philly to Pittsburgh. So he was saying, donate, and we wouldn't even have a fund ready. We didn't have any type of donation or anything set up, but he basically set that off because after that fight, it was aired on NBC. Me and my wife were getting so many hits on, hey, how do I donate to Kennedy to help you guys from the boxing world, that it was overwhelming. It was a beautiful thing, and so I just told my wife, hey, go ahead and start a fund, see what happens. And man, $30,000 later from the boxing world, man, they gave some money within, I guess in 2 months, but we were getting donations like crazy, man. Even prominent athletes in the boxing world, some didn't want their names mentioned, which I won't, have given. Some who wanted to give, we didn't just get the checks from them, but I thank them too. They know who they are. But it was the boxing world really helped us, so we were able to really literally pick up and just go, and move our whole family to Pittsburgh. Now my son and my nephew lives with me. They're in school in Pittsburgh, and my son cruises there. It made it much more comfortable for us to deal with this situation.
Well, they say sometimes that boxing, is kind of like a family. Well, I guess it was proven there in your situation that boxing came together as a whole and as a family and helped, one of its boxers out.
Yeah, they totally did, man. I mean, I don't, I feel like I owe the boxing community. And the way I'm going to pay these guys back is just continue to perform, man, on the top level, the best level that I can, just to get them what they're looking for.
I'd like to ask you about a fighter, and you're probably going to tell me no, and I understand why, because he's from Philly, and I've talked to enough Philly fighters to understand that there's this brotherhood between you guys, that you guys don't really like fighting each other if you don't have to. Would you fight Brian? Would you fight Brian Jennings?
We talk. His trainer and my trainer talk. I've talked with Jennings, and there's been offers for me to fight Jennings for the past 2 years, and we said no because it didn't make sense financially. Here it is. I fought Mansour, who's considered a Philly fighter. I think he's from Jersey, or Delaware, and he trains in Philly, and he's considered a Philly fighter also. And really, I was reading some of the reactions to the fight being announced, and people were kind of angry, like, man, you got 2 Philly guys fighting, so why at this level? Why not at the championship level? And I understood them, but, then at the end of the day, that's the only fight that was presented to either one of us, and, it's for the national title, why not? But then I got calls about fighting Jennings, and I'm like, wow, when you guys want to get me ran out of Philly? I don't want to be just fighting two guys. You know, I want to be a world champion. World champions fight different people, you know, from around the world. And so, with Jennings, yeah, you know, of course, we're fighters, we will fight, you know, but it just got to be worth it, you know. A little $70,000, $50,000, that's ridiculous, you know. No, I wouldn't fight Jennings for that much, man. It's got to be for money, you know.
Okay, well, I know you got a fight coming up, and I know you're concentrating on that, but if you had to choose a name up by the top right now that you could get next, who would it be?
I mean, who doesn't want to fight Z-Man? I mean, let's hypothetically say I'd say Wilder or Vyacheslav or anybody. If I beat them, I'm not the man, you know, because there's still a dominant force in Vladimir Klitschko, you know. So I'm a two-time world champion, former world champion, you know. Once a champion, always a champion. I have that heart in me. Even when I fought in the streets, I wanted to fight the toughest guy because I wanted to be known as the toughest guy. So Vladimir Klitschko he's a dude. You know, he's the man. He's the best. You know, he's dominant. He's superior. A challenge is a challenge. That's the ultimate challenge. You know, every fighter is a guy who wants to challenge himself. And just like any fighter, I would rather challenge myself against the best.
Okay, I want to ask you about somebody, your trainer, Nazim Richardson. What does he mean to you in your career and in your life in general?
What does he mean to me? Is that what you said?
Yeah, what does he mean to you in your career and in your life in general? Because I know obviously you're close with him, and I know you belong to the tribe, right? The Concrete Jungle.
Oh yeah, listen. Let me tell you this. Before I even answer that question, this should answer it for you. My daughter had her surgery on the 5th. That evening, actually that morning, Nazim was up there at the hospital. Drove all the way to Pittsburgh. He didn't even know he was coming. You know, he was on the road. He called us out. I'm almost there. We're like, what? You know, and he sat in the room with Kennedy for hours, you know, while she was recovering, you know, swollen, knocked out, you know, and he was just sitting there, you know, and me and my wife, we got a chance to go eat and this and that, and Brother Nazim drove all the way to Pittsburgh, you know, to support, you know, Kennedy, and, you know, that's family, you know, Brother Nazim and all the Concrete Jungle tribe, they're more than just a boxing team. That's fun. That's why I call it tribe. You know, tribe sticks together no matter what. This isn't just business. This isn't just, you know, Nazim working to get a check. Or, you know, this is Brother Nazim, you know, the family friend. You know, like, you know, somebody I jump in front of a car for, you know, or jump in front of a bullet for, and I know you do the same for me and my kids. So, he's family, you know, no doubt.
Okay. So now let's get to the mega fight, because some people know, some people don't know that you're kind of getting a little irritated with the whole Mayweather-Pacquiao thing, and so let's talk about it. What's your opinion on this mega fight?
I mean, my opinion is it's going to be a good fight. What irritates me is just the way the fans have taken every little piece and just oversaturated and just ran with everything, and it's gotten to be a nuisance to me, you know. I mean, I go on Facebook and I search my timeline, and it's just, they never announced the fight at the Super Bowl. Oh, they're going to announce the fight at the Bar Mitzvah. Hey, they're going to announce the fight at the All-Star Game, you know. Oh, they're going to announce the fight. You know, it's like, dude, what the heck? Where are y'all getting this info from? Just sit back and relax. Like, in actuality, there are better fights out there than Mayweather and Pacquiao. I mean, you got Matisse fighting for Vodnikov. That's going to be fire. You know, not that I'm hating on Floyd and Manny. I think that's going to be a caring fight. You know, Floyd says he's TBT. You know, Manny's a force, a southpaw force. And you know, Floyd has the rule issues with Southpaw. I mean, you seen his dad when he brought to you and DeMarcus Corley, but they never figured him out, you know, in so many rounds and dominated. So, with Manny, that's all my question is, why do people think it's going to be any different? You know, I mean, look at the similar opponent that they have in Marquez. You know, Manny had mad issues with Marquez. Floyd had no problem with Marquez. So, I you know, but I do know Styles make fights and this and that. I mean, it could be this. I just think the hype of this fight is just what it is. Great hype. And everybody's revved up to pay $100 and something for the pay-per-view, which is awesome. These dudes are making the biggest purse in sports history ever. Sports, not just boxing, sports. So, but don't be disappointed if it's just a regular fight. You know?
Okay, well, on that note, I want a prediction from you.
I'm saying true. I believe Floyd's going to win. You know, I mean, like I said, and if you just take the similarities in the same opponent, in a similar opponent, you know, look at the dominance Floyd showed against Marquez, and Manny fought the guy 5 times. I guess 3 out of those 5, you can argue Marquez won, and then Marquez flattened him, you know, put him out. I mean, before the Bradley loss and the Marquez loss, I couldn't say anything about anybody getting out about this fight, me personally. But I mean, right now, it's not even a fight itself. The fight's going to be awesome. It's just the way people just got carried away with, you know, it really is like they're the only 2 fighters in the world. You know, it's like, come on, y'all, calm down. There's even greater fights out there getting made, you know, coming up. So, it is what it is.
All right, well, on that note, I just want to remind everybody again one more time that Steve USS Cunningham will be fighting Glazkov on March 14th. He says that the location has been changed to where? Toronto?
Montreal.
Montreal, Canada, no longer Quebec. Is this fight going to be televised?
Yeah, it's on HBO. We're, I think, co-main event to Pascal Kovalev. So, yeah, it's going to be HBO. Finally, you know, we got the HBO, and shout out to them. You know, they opened the door for us to showcase our skills to the world. So.
Okay, so everybody heard it. Steve Cunningham said get your HBO. If you don't have HBO, you got till March 14th to get HBO, because he's going to show you what he can do to an undefeated fighter and give him a loss.
Yes, that's the plan.
Well, Steve, I appreciate the interview. Thank you again for taking time. Good luck in continuing your journey on getting that world title, and hopefully your daughter stays healthy, and my prayers are with you and your family.
All right, man. Thank you very much.
All right, and the truth has spoken.